appreciate that, and we couldn't be here without you. So we do want to say thank you to start. And just to cover a little, by the way, my name is Sarah. I hope you know I'm Sarah and he's Ken. So that's for sure, you should know that. But just to kind of cover our agenda for today, as I mentioned, we have a lot of things to cover. I'm going to start with just a little overview of NAV, where it is today, but also we're going to go back just a couple releases because some of you are on further back releases. So we're going to touch on some of the improvements in 2015, 16, and then 17. And they kind of all kind of have stacked upon each other. So it kind of ties together. Then I'm going to pass it to Ken, who will actually do a demonstration of all those features within 2017. So the product we're showing is 2017, but just touching on some of the improvements. We realize that when you implement, you can't implement all the features. So sometimes it's kind of a refresher to say, hey, I'm running 2015, but we never implemented that feature. Kind of nice to be reminded of that. Then we're going to break and talk a little bit about the upgrade process. We'll answer any questions that you might have, and just open it up to Q&A. And then we have a showcase. It's an add-on solution from Next Generation Logistics. It's a transportation management software. And we've invited the folks to come out and give you guys about 30 minutes of what their products and their service offerings are. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we have lunch. We'd love you all to stay for lunch. Maggiano's is being catered in, so I didn't cook. It's all good. And then after lunch, we're going to have what's new in the cloud. You know, cloud is a big discussion these days. Not only running your software in the cloud, running backups in the cloud, running services in the cloud that can integrate with your NAV solution. So we kind of just want to give you guys a good feel for what's available in the cloud. And then after that, we're going to have our experts at Solution Systems, experts like Dee and Jet Reports, Mark in manufacturing, Ken financials, some IT folks, here to just answer any questions that you guys might have. So think about if you have any support questions or anything about the product, we're going to have them up here to help you guys with that. Okay? So that's our day. So just to start off a little bit, you know, the Microsoft story. Obviously, you're all Microsoft customers, and you know, obviously Microsoft appreciates that. And the R&D that they put into their products, $9 billion plus a year. And what does that really mean to you guys? So you'll see that today in these improvements that they've made. So really embedding the Office 365 product within NAV. You know, a lot of that research that goes into Office 365 then gets embedded into the ERP solution. You know, we talk about devices and, you know, running a Surface or running Connects, but the Windows tablets and having that mobility, all that technology advancements that happen in their mobility devices goes into the ERP solution. For example, not many of you are probably using a Windows phone, but Cortana, I'm sure you all know who Siri is. So Cortana is the same version in Siri. As Siri, that technology is now being embedded into ERP, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So kind of those advancements. So this R&D does benefit on the ERP world. Just a little up to date on NAV, where are we today? So over 120,000 customers worldwide, close to 2 million licensed concurrent users. It continues to be Microsoft's #1 ERP solution. So good news is you guys made a great investment. It's not going anywhere, and it's going to continue to grow and improve. So that's the benefit there. To touch a little bit on the cloud, as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit later about it as well. But your NAV solution is on-premise. It's also available in the cloud. It's also available in a data center hosted. So there's lots of options there. But your same solution, if you said, you know what, we have some old infrastructure in-house and we don't want to upgrade our hardware or spend a lot of money in hardware, you could take your database, your customized tailored database, and host it on a Microsoft Azure account. So those things are available today. We do have some customers running that way, and it's proven to be a really nice way to do that. So for some of you on older releases that say, hey, we don't want to put all that money in infrastructure, that is an option. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about that. You may have heard, there's a lot of advertising about what the heck is Dynamics 365. So I don't know if you've heard that or not, or you see it on the internet. So I just wanted to touch a little bit about what this is. So Dynamics 365 Business Edition was built on NAV. So that's kind of the base of what it is. But we like to call it kind of the light NAV solution. So it's a multi-tenant, which means you're all sharing in one database, non-customizable solution that Microsoft is now offering out to the small business. So you guys already have your investment in NAV. There'd be no reason you would move to this environment. But if you had maybe another business partner, or you knew another company that maybe was running QuickBooks or running Peachtree or running one of those smaller solutions and said, we've outgrown it, we're primarily today looking for financials, you may want to, you could recommend that. But that's really what it is. It's primarily financials, order processing financials, based on multi-tenant, cloud-based solution for Microsoft in the small business market, built on base NAV. Okay? So if you guys have questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer them, but just to kind of, so you're aware of what that means. So we talk about the roadmap, so NAV. So obviously we have lots of releases. Microsoft has guaranteed a release every year of Dynamics NAV. So today we're primarily focusing on 2015, 16, 17. But a lot has happened, a lot of new functionality. As I mentioned before, the Office 365 integration, really looking at a lot of just base application improvements, cash management, cash forecasting, workflow documentation, OCR, I say it that way, OCR reading within NAV, and really what we call e-services integration. Ken is going to touch on every single one of these pieces as we go through the software. But again, that investment that Microsoft puts into the product allows us to continue to grow and advance on the system. So we'll talk a little bit more about those features. Some of you are aware of the different clients, but starting in 2015 through 2017, Microsoft has introduced some new clients. So you're all aware of we call it the Windows client. So that's your full ERP, full licensed user that most of you probably already have, obviously, running the full application. The web client has had a tremendous amount of enhancements. So 2017 brought even more enhancements to the web client. So the ability to, through any browser, access your NAV solution and allow users that are outside the office or even within, in theory, access the system without being on-premise. So really giving you that mobility and allowing you to run the full NAV solution. The SharePoint client is available as well, and if you have a SharePoint site, which is a product from Microsoft, the light or occasional user accessing some reports, maybe they don't need to have a full NAV license and you just want them to view some reports that you've posted out on your SharePoint site, that's available. But what's really exciting is the tablet and mobile client. So that was really introduced in 2016, improved upon again in 2017, but really having that mobility. So whether I'm running a Windows device, Surface, tablet, phone, an Apple device, phone, tablet, iPad, doesn't matter, or Android. So really giving you available across those platforms, not hardware independent, really that ability to access your system anywhere in the world. So that's really come a long way. We're going to show some of that today. We're going to show the Windows, the phone application. So for salespeople or anybody really outside the office, to be able to access your system on your phone. So that's come a long way. We realize today we're all on our phones all the time, right? I see all the phones. So another change that happened for some of you with the licensing model that I want to touch on. So we've had this full user, so NAV full licensed user, but in 2016 and 17, there's a limited user license. So the nice thing about that is that if you have people within your organization that really view information all day long, do very little posting, because that's where it's limited. It's limited in the fact that I can only post to 3 tables at one time, and we can talk more about that in detail. But if you think about anyone who's viewing data, or even entering data, but not posting data, the limited user is definitely an option. And there's a big difference in investment. A limited user license is a $600 investment versus a full user license. So big difference. That is available today and available to all of you within 16 and 17. So we're going to focus a lot today on the seamless integration because it continues to be improved upon. So not only do we integrate with obviously all the Office products, Word, Excel, now really embedded what we call Power BI within NAV. So that's become a really big selling point to the application and really taken reporting to the next level. So we're going to show some of the Power BI embedded in NAV, and it is an add-on to Excel. So if you guys are Excel users, you're not having to, learn a whole new product. It's within Excel, but really taking that graphical charting, reporting, drill down to, again, that next level. So we're going to show that today, as well as some of the Office integration points. So this is just an example of what you can create with Power BI. So again, it's pretty extensive, and really the benefit here is the drill down within those cells. So being able to really drill down into information that you have, and NAV is feeding your Power BI reports. So it's really become a nice feature, and again, we'll talk about it a little bit further. So in summary, when we look at, and this is truly just a summary, the fact sheets are about 30 pages thick onto the new features that have been put into NAV. So again, more importantly, looking at visualization and forecasting with that Cortana intelligence, workflows now being pre-built within NAV, so you can actually build your own workflows and approvals, and making that a lot simpler than it's ever been. Really using some of the, on the technology side, again, Office integration, but web client and pages and rapid start tools to be able to bring information in your NAV system and also extract it out very easily. So some of those improvements are all the things that we'll talk about today. Okay. So any questions before I pass it over to Ken? All right, so I'm going to hand it over to him. Let him take you through the actual system, and as we mentioned, we'll have a Q&A in a little bit.
All right, good morning, everyone. All right, so as I was preparing for today, I realized that I probably needed a lot more than an hour and 15 minutes to go through everything that's new. But where I want to start is, as Sarah mentioned, with 2015, 2016, and 2017, you're going to see a few common themes through all of these. And that's why I want to start with 2015 and go through some of the concepts of what Microsoft has been doing, so you can kind of see the vision of where they're going with the product, and maybe even anticipate some of maybe what might be next in 2018 when that comes out. We're already looking forward to that. And you'll even see these same ideas through each release. The 3 themes of quick to implement, easy to use, and the power to support. So supporting users through various web services and integrations. So where we're going to start is with the quick to implement. Okay? So what I want to try to do here with each release is go through some of the key points, some of the key features and functions that I think are applicable for like everyone, kind of the horizontal solutions. And I encourage you to take notes. Some things I may just discuss, other things I may do a quick little demo of and show you kind of what it looks like in action, or I may do a PowerPoint. But if something's, resonates with you, take a note of it. We can always circle back later, provide you with more detailed information or follow-up on it. Okay? So one of the major themes in terms of quick to implement related to upgrading is Microsoft has been putting a tremendous amount of investment into the ability to upgrade easier. Okay? So from going from 2009 to 2013 or any version before that was a major upgrade project. Okay? So when they realized that, they got the feedback from the user community, and they said, you know what, we have to do better. So starting with 2015, they significantly upgraded the upgrade tools that are available. It's called Rapid Start Upgrade, and that includes both custom code that exists within your NAV database, upgrading that code as efficiently as possible without anyone touching it, so it just moves right over, and also the data, a single-step data upgrade process that migrates all of the data from your current release into the new release. So you'll see, for example, if you had, I think we have a few examples where someone had maybe an upgrade proposal for 2015. We then revised it to 2016 with little to no change because of these tools that are coming out. And we'll touch on one more way that they're improving this as well. And then also Rapid Start implementation. So Rapid Start configuration packages are tools that are available starting in 2013 actually, that allow you to export data into Excel, edit it, and import it back. So what I want to do real quickly here is just go ahead and show you what that looks like. So I have 2017 here. I'm just going to log in. 2017 supports two methods of authentication, by the way. There's NAV password security, which I just used here, and there's Windows authentication, and Office 365 single sign-up. So if you're using Office 365, you have a single sign-in for your users across Office, Dynamics NAV, and everything. Okay. So what I want to quickly do here is just find a configuration package here. And what you do is you can really use this. So let's say, here's this example. I have a whole list of items, and I need to update the inventory posting group of a whole set of items, right? And I normally would have to go in and update each one, go to the next one, update it, and so on. What I'm going to do here is I set this up. I said I want to update the item table, and I have certain fields that I'm going to include: item number, item description, and inventory posting group. I'm just going to export this to Excel. What it's going to do is it's going to take those fields and all my items and export those into Excel. So let's change these two mudguards from finished to raw materials. So I can use Excel to copy and paste down. So I'm just going to change those two mudguards to raw material. I'm going to save this spreadsheet to my desktop real quickly. And then I'm going to go back into NAV. I'm going to import from Excel. I'll select that spreadsheet that I just created. And what it does is it imports that data into a holding area here called package data. And within here I can preview that data that I just loaded in here. And I can see that the mudguards are now raw material type items. So I click OK, and I apply the package data. It updates my data within NAV. I have no errors. All my records were modified successfully. So I basically just did a mass data update. That could include importing new contact records from a trade show. It could include setting up a whole set of new items from a new vendor that you may be including in your inventory master. So there's a whole wide variety of ways that you can use this tool. But that's kind of the most...
Okay.
Yes.
Is this 2015 or 17?
It's available in 2015, 16, and 17. Yep. I'm showing everything here in 2017. So this is all 2017, but it is available.
Starting from 15.
Right.
We have 13 items.
13,
R2.
yeah, 13 R2 has it, and they've improved it even more with each release. Yeah. Okay, so not doing the slides very well. Okay, so So next, I want to focus on some easy to use. So in the easy to use categories, you're going to see things that make it easier for the user to use NAV. Okay? So the tablet experience, for example, I'm going to hold off on the tablet because I want to show that when we get to 2017 because we've really done some great things for 2017. So hold off on that. User experience enhancements. So simplification, Office 365 integration, and document reporting. So let's take a look at a couple of those things real quickly. So the first thing in terms of usability or ease of use is if you look at your role center, you have these tiles on your role center, and you'll notice that right on the top here I have a green bar. On top of this one I have a red bar on top of this one. So what this allows you to do is go in and set limits on what is a good number. Is it good to have only one opportunity due in 7 days? Is it bad to have 14 overdue appointments? It depends on your business, right? Your items, your customers. So what it allows you to do is set up those indicators and choose. And what you can do is, right here, open the screen and set what you want these different indicators to be, favorable, unfavorable, and set those limits. Okay? So each user or owner of a role center can go in and configure what those look like. We also have master data templates and some improvements to those. So as an example, what I want to do is just create a new customer record. So if I go into customers, when I click on new, I'm immediately launched to an applied template screen. So we can set up master data templates to default in certain fields for us. So if I pick domestic customer here, what it does is it launches a new customer record for me, and it pre-populates many fields. You'll notice my terms code is filled in, my finance charge is filled in, some of my posting groups. So we have that ability. We also have a star here on the name field. This is an indicator that this field is mandatory. Okay, so we can put a star in there to show that the field is mandatory. And one of the biggest things actually is, which I think a lot of people may not realize, is that with 2017 for sure, what it does is if it looks at your user security, and it removes all of the fields and all of the buttons and elements that I don't have access to as a user. So if I'm someone in the warehouse and all I do is look up items and I just have basic access to the item record and I have no posting functions, I don't even see those options on my screen. NAV automatically does all that heavy lifting to remove that stuff out of my way so that I don't have to look at it. Another little feature here, let me find solution systems here. So if I'm on a customer record here, one of the things done, they've redesigned the layout of the data on the card pages to provide more ease of use. So for example, I have a general tab here with some general information, and then an address and contact tab. So they've kind of taken all of the address and contact information and just relocated it to a new location. You can also expose, I'm going to have it on here, pricing right within the customer card. There's contract pricing for a customer. And then there's online maps integration. So if I'm going to Solution Systems, I need to know where they're at, I click Show on Map. And what it does is it integrates it with, of course, Microsoft Big Maps. And it will put in the customer's address, and there we are. So that works for customers, for vendors, contact records, all integrated with, by default, online maps.
Can you show multiple customers on that same kind of click? So you kind of like a fishing sales trip.
The standard, you can route from one customer to another customer. There, you can't put in like a series, a whole series of those. And then the last thing is ease of use things in terms of adding. If I, for example, add a new, let's from this customer record here. One of the things I can do is right up top here, I can hit new document. I'm going to hit new invoice. And what you notice is, not only did it launch and create a new invoice for me, but it automatically assigned the number for me and removed it off of the page. So it's kind of clearing that clutter away for the user. It's saying this is invoice 1006, but I don't need to have that as a field here and hit enter to assign it. NAV auto assigns it. So there's a lot of little things like that that are really making it easier on the user. And then lastly, on this, you'll notice right here, on every document page now, you have a total section. So within the document itself, for example, let's just add a couple of items in here. 2 of those, and 3 of those. You can see it's building my order total for me here, right here, so I don't have to go look at statistics to see what my totals are. That's across all purchase sales documents. All right. And then kind of the last thing, let me go ahead and I'm just going to post this invoice real quickly. So little things like this. So I posted the invoice. Do you want to go to the invoice now? That same functionality is available on, or you create a quote, convert that to an order or an invoice. You can go right to the document. And the key thing I want to show here is that if I do a print preview here, I'm going to come back to this because I have to show it again. So I'll come back to that. And then the last thing I want to show here with 2015 is the report scheduler. Okay. So I'm going to change my role center here. Bear with me for 1 moment. Here. So one of the things that you now have on your role center is what's called a report inbox. And you see here that I have 3 reports sitting in my report inbox. I have an inventory valuation, an aged accounts payable, and an aged accounts receivable report. I can click on, these are reports that have been generated for me, and I can open them as a PDF. And so you may ask, how does a report get there? 2 ways. The first way is if I run the report as a user. Let's say I want to run an aged accounts receivable report. Let's say this report takes 5 minutes to run, right? So today, you wait patiently for the report to run, and then you look at the report and you work with it. What I'm going to do, instead of doing that, I'm going to go down to the print button, and I'm going to click on schedule. And I'm going to schedule that, I'm just going to put T for today and hit OK. What it says is the report has been scheduled. It will appear in the report inbox when it is completed. So I wait, and there it is. So that was a relatively quick report. The idea, though, is that if it does take 5 minutes to run, or 2 minutes to run, or longer, you can immediately continue working while NAV runs the report in the background. Right? So you're not having to open another session to keep working, or just waiting, losing your productivity while that's happening.
Are you saying you can auto schedule it so that it runs every hour?
Well, so far I've just said that you can go click schedule it ad hoc and kick it to the scheduler, but yes, you can. So if I click on this button, show queue here, within here, you see that I have a process set up, adjust cost to item entries. This is something everyone has to run, whether you are, I hope you are. Just make sure your costs are all accurate. And today, someone has to remember to go run this. Well, what you can do is, this is a process. but you could also do this for reports. You can go into here, set this up, and say, I want this to run on these days of the week, starting at this time. Or running with this many minutes between each run. So it could be you want to run something every 5 minutes. You set this up through here, and it runs creating picks, reserving inventory, posting time entries, whatever it is. You can run that through here. If it's a report, you can also set the report parameters right within the scheduler too. So for example, you may want to run an inventory report for 3 different posting groups. You could set up the report 3 times in your scheduler, each with its own filter set, and then run those every Sunday or however often you want to run those. So when you come in the morning, they just appear right in your report inbox.
Can you have it go to somebody else's inbox?
Only if you configure their role center for them, if you're configuring it, but standard, no, this is generally, it's a user by user. User by user. All right. So the last couple things on here is just cache management, social listening. Social listening is simply an integration for NAV to integrate with Microsoft Social Engagement. Was anyone using Microsoft Social Engagement? It's just a tool online that collects data from all of the different social media sources, aggregates it, and then you can make that visible data visible. So if you're wondering what your customers are saying about out on social media, you can embed that within the customer card to view some of that data.
This is Microsoft
Social engagement. That does, I believe that requires a subscription, like a marketing service out there. And then the last thing is cache management. I'm going to come back to cache management, and we're going to talk about the 2016 and 17, some of the new things with bank reconciliation. Okay. So moving along to 2016, you see the same 3 themes. Quick to implement, easy to use, and the power to support, although with different elements under each one. So if we start with the quick to implement. So the first item on the list is works natively with CRM. So NAV has built-in CRM functionality, right? And a lot of you are using that. The contacts, for example, are a piece of the NAV relationship management or CRM module. But you also have Microsoft Dynamics CRM, right? Separate product, online subscription-based product. Previously, if you wanted to integrate Dynamics CRM with NAV, you needed a third-party connector tool, or what was called the Microsoft connector, and you had to manage the integration and the synchronization of data between those 2 products. Released with 2016, available in 2017, is a native CRM integration. And to kind of demonstrate that, real quickly, lost. So directly, now I'm in NAV, and I'm just going to type in Dynamics CRM. And what you see is I have visibility right from within NAV to my CRM sales orders, accounts, cases, contacts, and all of this different stuff. And how I set it up is simply right through NAV. I entering here my Dynamics CRM URL, my username, my password. I also have an assisted setup option. So one of the new things that you're going to see with 2017 in particular is what's called assisted setup. This is a tool that allows you to quickly set up these different integrations and tools within NAV. And this just walks you through the process. Okay, so I answer this, once I'm finished, I now have visibility to all of that CRM data right within NAV. And it's syncing the data between the two products. Any questions on that? It's kind of a big one.
So you could just use it through NAV itself, you don't need to maintain CRM separately?
Correct. Right, well, you could.
You could, but you don't have to.
Yeah, so if you had sales, well, if you had salespeople, I think the key here though is if you have salespeople, they're on the road, they're using Dynamics CRM.
Right, then they don't need to have the access to NAV to see
The
all
people that are in NAV have full visibility to what the salespeople have going on in terms of opportunities. They don't have to go into CRM to look at the opportunities, the contacts, the leads, the appointments, and things that they have. They have visibility to that NAV users right from within NAV.
So do you have to pay the extra license in CRM for the NAV users? Because right now, we have, separate licensing.
No.
One license.
If the salesperson is only in CRM, the NAV users are only in NAV, no.
So I don't have to pay two licenses?
Correct, no. Right.
It's just the visibility to the data.
Yeah. And syncing orders and syncing invoices up back to CRM also. Another piece of that is SQL Azure, which is simply Microsoft. Typically the NAV runs on Microsoft SQL Server. So you have a version of SQL Server running on your servers, whether it's on-premise or it's in the cloud. That's the database, right? Microsoft now has created what's called Azure SQL, which is simply Azure hosted on the cloud. The whole SQL environment is hosted, so you directly connect to the SQL database on Azure. Microsoft's cloud is Azure. Okay. So the next thing is extensions. So I'm going to talk about extensions again when we come back to 2017 here. Okay. Easy to use. So the key thing here I want to touch on is what's called the universal app. So what I'm going to do, I have my phone here, and I'm going to hook this up here. This is the moment of truth. This. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
You definitely don't want to be in the sport.
Jeez Louise. Okay. So this is the universal app. So this is available with 2016 and 2017. And what you'll notice, so just running an iPhone here. This is also available if you have an Android phone. It also works on tablets, an iPad, Android tablet, certainly a Microsoft Surface, if you're using that. And the key thing here is you notice I have right here, right there, I have my Dynamics NAV icon. So I'm going to click on it.
Give it to Sarah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, NAV on my phone, downloaded this app from iTunes, installed it on here. I hooked up my URL for my NAV service, punched in my username and my password, and I'm up and running. So what do I have access to? I have access to everything I have access to in NAV on my Windows machine sitting at my desk at the office. I can enter data, I can post transactions, I can run reports, I can do anything I need to do here. So for example, I can scroll down, I can see anything that I have to do here. I can drill down what orders are ready to ship. Let's click on that. Got a bunch of orders ready to ship. Let's click on the first one, Canon Group. Let's see what they're ordering. They have some bases, some top panels, some rear panels. I can hit on the pencil button on the bottom here. And edit this order. So if I want to edit the requested delivery date on here, I want to change the quantity on one of the lines, I can go in here and I can do that. Click the back button. So this document's not been posted, be sure you want to exit. I can hit the back button here again. I can swipe. These are my customers. So what's the Canon Group up to? Let's see what the Canon Group's up to. Here's their balance. I'm going to click on their balance here. I'm just going to hit right there. See what they owe us. $255,000. We better get shopping. Okay. Canon Group. Or I can look at reports here. So I have all my KPIs, my reports, items, how many of these do we have on hand. I can also create a new document. So if I want to create a new quote here or a new order, let's click on new order. Let's just say we got the order. So I click on order. I'm just going to click on the assist button here on the customer. I want to find the Canon Group. So I'm going to click on the search button here. Here's all my customers. So I just type in and hit search here. Actually, I didn't even hit search. There's the Canon Group. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to hit this plus here to add a new item, add a new line. I'm going to click type. There's no different types. Let's do an item. Find an item here. I can do the search the same way. I'll just pick one of these items right here. Or these numbers. Keyword pops up here. Let's finish that. Okay. So I've added that line now to my order. And now I click down here on the bottom. And what I'm going to do, fat finger my phone, is I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to email a confirmation to the customer. So I'm going to send an email confirmation. Right here is my main contact on the customer record. Here's the body of the email. It comes from a template that's stored in NAV that you can go into. You set up what you want that template to say, including dynamic information from the order. It's not just a static message. You can include variables from the order itself in there. And then I click on check mark here, and it's sending the email. And off it goes, so I'm done. Now I continue on to hole number 9.
But what's really great about this, it's also very responsive. So if you're using a tablet and you turn the tablet to the side, you could use your thumbs, so it understands that it's a tablet device versus a phone. Excuse me one second. So yeah, any device, and it is responsive to the size of the screen. So that's a great feature. And again, any application within NAV. So if I'm running field service, or I'm on the road doing quotes or orders, it's all part of the solution.
Did you say it's Windows 10? Did you say?
Windows 10 on the desktop.
Doesn't have to be Windows.
No, I mean this on the device, any device. So it's just it's a universal app. It will install on a universal 10 if you have it on the desktop.
On the desktop,
Yeah. Yeah, on the desktop, I'm going to show actually the web client So we'll take a look at the web client here in a couple minutes. And I think you'll see the web client probably is a better option for there. What I want to do is real quickly, I just want to show you one more example. I'm going to change my role center. Change my role center here. Because one of the most common things that people are going to use it for, I'm actually an order processor right now on my phone, and I just want to show you that if I change my In NAV, if I change my user's role center, so I've changed my role center for that user. And now I log back in. I'm going to click on NAV again. And now I'm actually a salesperson. So what I'm looking at here are my contacts, company contacts, my person contacts, my open opportunities, my closed opportunities. I'm using my mouse, I'm actually on my phone. And other things. So if I scroll over, I now have my pipeline report. I can see where my opportunities lie and what those are worth. I can see these are my salespeople's top opportunities. I'm the CRM, I'm the sales manager in this case. Some top 5 opportunities. What do we have out there? What's closing? If I click on one of these bars, I can drill down and see who are we selling these new tables to. And it launches that opportunity. And I can see that's for Gibson's law firm. So the idea is, whichever user, if I'm a salesperson, if I'm an inventory person, if I'm a purchasing person, everyone can use the Universal app. It's not only for salespeople, it's for any user doing any task that they might normally carry out at their desk.
Could you show the sales quote?
Here we go. So if I go back here, I can click here. So here's, I have no open quotes here. What was your question on that?
Just wanted to see the sales quote.
Oh, it looks just the same as the order. Just, I entered that new order for Canon Group and sent them an email confirmation. It's the exact same function, it's just as a quote instead of an order.
So it's not allocating inventory or.
But yeah, it just sits as a quote. Any other questions before I disable this bad boy?
I had one. Is the functionality the same on a phone versus a tablet? It's like the same app, or do you get more on the tablet?
So this is the Universal app. You can run the Universal app on a tablet, and you get this exact same experience. You can kind of see when I turn it, right?
Okay.
So it kind of is what it would look like on a tablet. There is, though, however, a separate web client interface designed for tablets as well. It's kind of like 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Okay.
I believe, one though is an app. So this is actually an app that's installed on the device. The tablet web client is actually just going through, like, for example, Safari on an iPad, or Internet Explorer on a Surface. So it's just a little bit.
We're doing that with a couple of old Surface laptops we have. We're just using the web client, and users don't realize they're not actually in the desktop client.
So that's exciting. We've had other feedback from other customers already that are just like, someone's out and they just have to check on the status. Hey, did that process run successfully? They can log in on their phone just to check out if it ran, or they can see if an order got posted correctly, or just a quick little updated date and send an updated PO to a vendor. So it's really handy for those types of All right, so let's take a look then at, lost my track here. Okay, and then moving right along, so we still have a few things that I want to go through because they're using more and more of them in 2017. And the next thing I want to talk about are what are called is document management and incoming documents. Okay, so document management, so today, you know, you can go in, you can drag and drop a document and attach it to an order, right? You can use record links to attach files, drawings to an item record. Now they're introducing what are called incoming documents. The idea of an incoming document is someone has a document, they scan it in to an, they don't know what it is, maybe it's a series of purchase invoices, they're scanning these documents in, and someone then within NAV needs to open it and decide what to do with it. Do I archive it? Do I create a new sales invoice for this? Is this a purchase invoice from a vendor? And then I can create new records. And also, so let me go through an example of that. So I'm back in Dynamics NAV here. And right on my role center here, I have a shortcut called Incoming Documents. So I click on here, and there may be a whole series of incoming documents here. And these could be these could be two things, right? So we have the ability to create these from a file. So these could be created simply by someone scanning in or dragging in a document and adding an inbound document, putting in whatever information they know, and then setting it up for someone else to do something. So I just created an inbound document. These can also be fed in through OCR, so optical character recognition. So NAV has an integration with Lexmark. So Lexmark has a service called Lexmark ICS. Invoice capture service. Okay? So now you have to have a subscription to Lexmark. There is a free subscription that you can get started with that includes up to a limited number of documents a month. Let's say it's like 200 documents a month that you can scan in. Scan it through, you map the OCR characters through there, it feeds it in and matches up to a vendor if it can and fills in the fields for you. So that's available here, and you use the Lexmark tools to map the document where the vendor number sits, or the vendor name, the order invoice number, and so on. In this case, I just have this document here, which if I click on it, it's simply a PDF that someone scanned in. And let's say it's an invoice from Poolwood Technologies, one of our vendors, and I need to do an invoice for this. So what I'm going to do is right from here, I'm going to hit Process, Create Manually. And what I want to do is I can create various different types of entries for this. A journal entry, a purchase invoice, a sales invoice, a credit memo. So I'm going to hit Purchase Invoice here. Hit OK. And I now have a new purchase invoice. I have this document automatically attached for me. I can now, I probably have my invoice over here sitting open, so I can see what's on it. Right? I can also click right here on the link. That'll open it for me. So I can kind of see what's on here, what are the dollar amounts, what do I need to do with this. I go in here, I can do a get receipt lines, pull in some vendor, some items that I've received, and I've now punch in this here. So even if you're not using the OCR, if you don't have the volume enough to support setting up the OCR mappings for all the vendors, you can use this incoming documents tool to kind of set a queue up for someone else who can then take these documents that maybe someone else opened the mail, they scan them in and set the stage for someone else to go pick them up and decide what to do with them. So that's called incoming documents. And the last piece I want to talk about, until we get into the last phase here, we're doing all right on time. We're doing all right on time. I'm doing fine. The last piece is what's called workflow. So one of the ideas, everyone hears about workflow, and people use the term workflow differently, right? Workflow simply can be, what happens to a document when it comes in? So I get a vendor invoice, what is the workflow? How does that document flow through all the way to getting processed through the system, right? Workflow also means to people rules that are in place that should dictate how a document gets handled or how a transaction gets processed. In previous versions of NAV, if for example, if you wanted to say, you know what, don't allow the user to release this document unless they filled in these fields, that was a customization, right? Or even better, some people have said, if a user enters a document like this and posts it, I want you to send an email to this person over there so that they have a heads up that this happened. Customization. Right? So NAV, they want to minimize, and this is one of the efforts to make upgrades simpler going forward, is to create what's called a NAV workflow tool. And so the NAV workflow tool, these are workflows that are set up within NAV, and you can create an unlimited number of workflows within NAV. There are certain of them that are out of the box that you can implement, and most of those relate to document approvals. So if anyone's using document approvals or has seen document approvals before, what they've done is they've taken document approvals and they've moved it into NAV workflows. And what that allows you to do is monitor or change how those rules work, or what happens when certain events get triggered in the data. So as an example, here's one right here, customer change approval workflow. So what this change says is when a customer record is changed and the credit limit is increased, an approval request is sent. So it's set to sending approval. If it gets rejected, remove their changes. If it gets accepted, apply the new values. Okay. So I want to get into how this works exactly, but that's the idea is, and you can edit these rules. You can set up your own rules. Another example is item approval workflow. This one says an item approval of an item is requested. And this is when a new item gets added. So when someone adds a new item to the system, an email gets sent to the item approver that they need to go in and approve this item. Another example is a sales invoice approval. This is simply like one of the existing ones. If the order limit's over a certain amount, or the customer's over their credit limit, make it go through an approval process. So the idea here is you have the capability to build your own workflows in here, unlimited workflows in any area of NAV, and when you upgrade, this is nothing more than data that resides within NAV, so these all just get upgraded through the data migration process. No one touching any of the objects in the database. Any questions on workflows?
Okay, how would you think that would be implemented? Is that like you need consultants coming in, kind of understanding what our process is, and then you guys design it, or is that kind of for users to figure out?
Well, I mean, Microsoft will say these are tools that anyone can use.
Yeah.
Probably need some training, 2 hours of training on how they work, how to implement them, and set them up.
Is it something that a dedicated person should know how to do, and then, or do you think it's that?
I think the return on investment, to have someone internally trained on these, to understand how they work, and be able to, at a minimum, maybe copy an existing workflow and tweak it and adjust it, definitely would, would pay off. And now, everything is, there's more and more video out there. Of course, if you log into Customer Source, you'll see hours of training videos on using these workflows. There's also the internet. And go to YouTube, I think you'll see a lot of examples out there, a lot of tutorials of people walking through how to set these up. And of course, we can help you as well. And then lastly, so 2017. So kind of these same themes, right? Same themes, we're integrating with Office. We're now going to talk a little bit about Power BI.
16, can you look back to the previous slide? You're going to touch on Power BI later?
Yeah, right now. Yeah. So bringing the two worlds together. So integrating with Power BI. What is Power BI? Integrating Office 365 more with Dynamics NAV and how we do that. Then we'll talk about some of the, and now we're in 2017, so I want to dedicate at least a good amount of time. We're going to go through and the specific changes to the core functionality so you can understand where the changes are within 2017. And then also some of the Cortana intelligence. I have a little video I'm just gonna show for that. And then we're going to talk, we'll wrap it up with Power Apps and Flow and extensions, which are some development tools. So first, in terms of bringing Office and NAV closer together, this is an example here where I'm sitting in my Outlook here. I have a bunch of emails here. And this is what's called an Outlook add-in. And this is 2017. This is all new 2017 stuff now that from here on that we're going to be looking at. It's called an Outlook add-in for NAV 2017. And how this works is when an email comes in, it looks at the email address of the sender. It recognizes that email address is a contact at the Canon Group. So within Outlook, it launches this NAV page, for lack of a better term, showing me the Canon Group's overview, where their balance is, and I can actually look at customer details here. And there's a create button. I can actually create a new document right from within Outlook. Okay, so I'm building a new folder right from within Outlook. I never even have to go into NAV to get that order. So you're seeing between the universal app, between the tablet client, between the Outlook client. You may have users, a large number of users, who actually never log into NAV, but they're using NAV every day in all of these different ways.
You can't identify an incoming phone number, can
Through that, you mean to recognize that
you?
through the phone
That
number?
exists in there.
I believe right now it just is that email address. So it's flagged, looking at that email address, finding them as where they're a contact. That same feature also works on the vendor side. So if a vendor sends me an email, maybe with an updated delivery date on a purchase order, it pops open the vendor card there. I can edit the order right from within Outlook without ever leaving.
And then does it set regarding that particular contact? In CRM, I have the add-on. So I would say set regarding this contact or opportunity. I would then be able to have all that record in there. Does that do
In
something?
CRM, it would not. Now, I can drag and drop that email. If I want to attach that email to the record, I can do that. But by default, it doesn't have that second record. And so Power BI. So what is Power BI? How many people are familiar with Power BI or have looked at Power BI? Okay, so a few, not very many. So what is, I'll start with what, high level, what is Power BI? Power BI is Microsoft's business intelligence reporting platform designed for any applications. So they said people want data. They want to see visualizations of their data. They want to be able to drill down on their data and use the data in a meaningful way on their phone, on a tablet, sitting at their desk at the office. So they created Power BI. It's a cloud-based service. You can sign up for free with a free subscription. There is a paid version when you hit a certain data size limit or a certain refresh rate. You want to refresh your data more than once a day or more than twice a day. You can get a paid subscription. But otherwise, it's a free subscription. And most importantly, what they've added for NAV is they've created a NAV 2017 content pack for Power BI. And what that does is that exposes all of your NAV data into Power BI with the default dashboard so that you can start using Power BI right now. So the benefits are, it's secure, so it's running on Microsoft. It does all of your NAV, all of your data authentications that you can use. It does use Office 365 single sign-on. You have that, each user is a named user. They log into Power BI to look at their dashboard, and I'm going to show you how I do that in a second. You can get started quickly because there are these content packs for NAV that you can get started with, and you can then tailor those as you wish. And of course, it's available on any device. So let me close out of here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to just Power BI. Okay, so this is the home page. If you just go back to your office, click on Power BI, you're going to get taken to a page like this. Sign up for free if you want. I'm going to sign in. And I'm going to sign in here like this. Okay. So what it's doing is it knows what my default dashboard is, and it's taken me right to my default dashboard. So what you see here are my gross margin percent, my total revenue, number of customers, my gross margin actual against budget over by business unit, different gross margins for Andrew, for Carlos, Tina, and so on, budget to variance. So I've got a dashboard here, right? A reporting dashboard. Now what I can also do is if I want to analyze, drill down further on this number right here, I can click on that. And what that does is that drills me into an additional level of data. So again, I see the same 83 customers, and I see here, I have what are called slicers. So these allow me to click on, if I want to, right now I'm looking at the whole organization. If I want to only analyze Andrew, I click on Andrew here, and all of my charts are dynamically linked to those filter sets. So as I change to Carlos, and I want to look at Tina, you'll notice all of the different charts are modified. I can click on any of these. If I want to analyze what's happening here in Illinois, I click on Illinois and I can see what's been going on here. We've had problems here with one large month of spike here. All of my activity is here in the north. So I click on the north, I can see where is that activity going on and how much is going on. 712,000 in Wisconsin, 3.1 million in Illinois, and so on. So very rich reporting. I think this is what people have been asking. I feel like people have been asking us for a very long time. And we finally have it available in 2017 in Power BI. So a little bit, how does this work and what are and some of the better features of this? So I'm gonna expose this little tool here. So we have three things here. We have data sets, we have reports, and then we have dashboards. The idea is you can create multiple data sets. And an example of this might be you have some data sitting in your payroll software, and you want to load in some data from payroll. You have NAV, of course. You want to load in some data, a data set from NAV. Maybe you have some access database where you're tracking some shop floor transactions, and you feed that as a data source. The idea is you can combine those data sources, build reports for them, and combine them onto one dashboard. So when someone logs in, I'm looking at my dashboard here. I may be getting data on this single dashboard from multiple places. Some of it might be coming from that access database, some of it's from NAV, some of it's from wherever. Right. So, and I have reports here too, so you can build the reports. If I click Edit Report, so this is the tool designer. Now there's two ways you can modify these reports. The first way is right through the client here. If you're really more of a power user and you're building these, there actually is a Power BI desktop that you download, install it on your machine, and it syncs up to your Power BI account online. So if you're the person who's writing those reports, you probably are going to use the desktop. But right from here, I can click on a report, and really each one of these tiles is a report. Right? So I can click on here, I can say, I want to see that instead as a bar, as a pie chart. Right? I can pick different types of charts that I want to see here. Maybe a bar chart. So there's all of these different things. You can kind of play around with it. You just want to see a numerical total. You want to see a pivot, a data table. Right? So there's all these different choices right out of the box. You just kind of pick which view you want, and you can then save those changes. So I can save it as a new version if I want. Or I can also take this and easily transform this into a PowerPoint presentation. So you can take these reports, if you're need to build a presentation, you can quickly convert these into PowerPoints. Any questions on Power BI?
How's the integration between a third-party application? You talk about NAV and something else coming in.
Yep. So right here I have my three data sets. Each data set, I specify where I'm pulling that source of data from. So for example, if I click on Get Data, these are the different places I can get my data from. Okay. So my organization, a content pack, for example, files, or a database. So you pick the different source you want. So for example, if you want to get started with NAV, you click here, you do a search, NAV, you get started here, you get that. And it goes through some steps here. I'm going to put in my NAV OData web service URL, so that's how it authenticates. Usually it has to be an SSL secure connection. And it uses authentication here. Once I type it in here, it authenticates me. And that's how I upload a data source. A data source, though, could be just an Excel file. You just have an Excel file you've created. Use that as your data source. Upload that, and now you can build charts and graphs and share those as dashboards with anyone, just straight from Excel. So there's a whole myriad of ways you can do it.
You said you're showing us in 2017, but you said it came out in 2016. Is that the same?
Correct.
Thing is okay.
Yes. As far as I know, the content pack that they've created, the set of data that they're integrating with Power BI is the same. Any other questions? Power BI?
Ken, if you have a third-party payroll company, you can get a file out of there their system?
Correct. So, yeah, so if they, so for example, if they gave you a file format, you could just take that file, and upload that as a data source. Or maybe they can give you access through web services or like through an API to connect to that data. That's what NAV is doing. So NAV is connecting through web services. You set up how often you want it to refresh the data. Power BI then goes out, grabs the fresh data, and loads it into Power BI so it's available. Okay, so we're doing good here. So, now we're going to hit some core functions and processing improvements within NAV here. One of the first things I just want to show is assisted setup. So when you're setting up NAV and you're implementing some of these features, they really have made it easier to implement some of these things. So to set up your email, set up email logging, Outlook for financials. This is the add-in for Outlook. Setting up some workflow approvals, cash flow forecasting. All of these things have little wizards that you can walk through, and it actually will set up the objects, the default data, do any third integration that it has to with Office 365. So that's the first thing, trying to make it easier to set up and easier to use these features. Another change here. So if I create a new quote here for a customer real quickly. And I'm going to order 500,000 of these base units. And order. So I've converted that to an order, right? And let's say I want to change that to 600,000 here. Before I run out of time, I'm going to go into the web client. So again, just from a browser, I'm going to click on the web client. So again, using Windows authentication or NAV password user security. So I authenticate. It knows who I am. It knows what my role is in the organization. And this now is my dashboard. You're going to see a very consistent look and feel from the Windows client. So it knows, here's my navigation pane menu. Here are some shortcuts here. I've got my tiles here, charts and graphs embedded in here. I can click on my charts, drill down to data. Right? So it is NAV. All of the options, all of the features and functionality as if I'm in the Windows client, all accessible through the web client in 2017. What I'm not going to go through is if you know, the web client actually came out in 2013. They added a series of improvements in 2015, in 2016, and in 2017. So I'm not going to go through all of those improvements. What I will say though is that today it's almost yeah, it doesn't matter. If you're more comfortable using the web client, use the web client. If you're more comfortable using the Windows client, use the Windows client. All of the features and functionality is available in both. You know? And this is another one of those things that for years, right, people have been trying to get data on their mobile devices, on their phones, on their Palm Pilots, or their Pocket PCs, right? Remember Pocket PCs? And we're trying to integrate data from NAV with that. Now you don't need anything. You need an SSL certificate to make sure you're securing your data, and people can access it from anywhere on any device.
it work on Chrome?
I believe so, yeah. Safari, Chrome, Firefox, I believe.
So I can't get my CRM to work on Chrome, it has to be Internet Explorer.
Or Edge, yeah.
We don't have it yet.
So, yep, so, yep, all of those things, and again, I'm not gonna walk through it, too much, other than to just say it's, all of the same actions. I can post transactions, I can convert a quote from an order, I can manage opportunities, one of the cool features that they're adding in now is the ability, and I'll just show this all in here, are different views of your data. So for example, if I click on items, I have an item list here, but it's not just a list. I can actually embed pictures and put those in here to make it easier for users to understand what it is they're looking at and what it is they're ordering. So if a customer's asking for something, I don't have to go look at a picture of it. I see that right from within the list. Another little cool feature is what's called cross-tab search is the term for it. And what that really means is I've got a little magnifying glass here. If I want to search for an item, I'm going to type in chair. It finds any item with that text in there, right? Based on the description of the item. But I also could just type in 19. And what it found is any item with a 19, most of these are in the item number. So the idea is the cross-tab search is looking across a number of fields to search without the user even having to specify what field they're searching. Today you have to click on which field you want to search on, and then you search. Or a wildcard, yes, a wildcard, like star, chair, star, right? To get everything with chair anywhere in the description. Now I don't have to do that. I can just type in any part of any storage. Here's all my storage items.
Can I ask one quick question? The embedded pictures that you have in there, do you know what format that they're required to be in for NAV 17?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's like a GIF or a JPEG.
Okay.
Are the two?
Because I know there's some compatibility issues with.
There is like one of them, bitmap.
Bitmap,
One of
that's what we
them,
have,
one
yeah.
of them it doesn't like.
Right. Oh, okay.
I'm not 100% sure which one.
Okay.
Ken, does that cross-tab search work when you're like entering an item on an order?
Not within the item, within that number field itself, but if you click on the advanced search and find it, then yeah, that would be available for users. Right, so how that would work is, for example, yeah, so you would go to the advanced search and then that would be okay. All right, so there is a laundry list of these user experience little things that you can do here. I don't have time to go into all of them. Just within 2016 alone, there were over 60 web client improvements that were added, more with 2017. So again, it's gotten to the point now, I believe, where you can say that they're interchangeable clients in terms of features and functionality.
Can you kind of double click on it and enlarge the picture?
Correct, yeah, and those pictures, by the way, so if I go back in the NAV, so here's my Tokyo guest chair. right? So this is just the item picture file. It's standard to display that here as a fact box. And that's basically just right here. You can go in and customize what that picture is, import a new picture, and display that. It's not actually it actually imports that into the database. It's not just like a link to a picture, it actually imports that right into the database.
We support 3D,
Doubt it. Okay, so a few more things. So finance. So for the accounting people in the room, one of the big changes is there are some new fields on the chart of account structure. So previously, there really was no way to categorize accounts other than income statement and balance sheet. Now within my chart of accounts, you see there's an account category, which could be assets, for example, liabilities, and so on, income. And then I have a subcategories. So if I go look at an account here, let's look at other receivables. The account categories are fixed. These are your standard GL account types. And the subcategories, however, are a table where you can actually go in and decide what you want those subcategories to be and how you want those accounts to be grouped together. The benefit, aside from simply being able to recognize what type of account this is that there's a function where you can actually set up what your standard account schedule names are. So you set up these 4 simple account schedule names. And then what you do is you run a function and it auto-generates your financial statements for you. So it auto-creates your income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and a schedule for retained earnings. So those are the 4 standard reports. And it uses those categories and subcategories to group that data together and build those account schedules for you. So of course you can still go add more and create your own account schedules all day, just like you can do today. But that's basically why they've done that, is so that users don't have to go in and build all of your account schedules all the time. Okay? And if you modify, let's say you add an account to your chart of accounts next week, you simply go regenerate those financial statements, and it rebuilds those, and it adds that account for you into that proper statement.
Can you customize the report?
The account schedules. Yeah, so the financial statements, financial reports, just the same way you can. What it'll do if you go in and try to edit one of those formats that it auto builds, it'll yell at you. It'll say, this is an auto-generated format. Are you sure you want to do this? But you still can if you want. Yeah, you can build an unlimited number of different financial sets of row formats and column formats. Period to date, year to date, comparison to budget, variance, last year to current year, quarter to quarter, and so on. All right. Okay, so one more thing here is they've really improved the banking integration. So this is between 2015, 16, and 17. They've really improved online banking. So I have a bank rec here. I'm going to click on New. I'm just going to create a new bank rec, one of my accounts. And what I can do here, I want to suggest lines. And I'm going to pull in all my entries through time here. I'm going to include my checks, right? So without doing anything here, notice what it's done is it's highlighted all of these in green. It's done an auto match to find all of my entries to show that they're reconciled. If I had any differences, I would see those differences in this column here, and I would see a total difference highlighted down here. You manually can go apply and unapply here. There's a manually apply, there's a match automatically. And the most important piece of this, of course, is this button here, Import Bank Statement. So there's actually a tool now where you can go in, build whatever your bank format is, import that bank statement into here, and then run the auto match function. So it matches up as many of the entries as it can. You isolate what the differences are. Much better, much improved process for managing bank reconciliations. I know for a number of customers, we've helped them implement this. It also includes standard positive pay file delivery. So if your bank requires or requests a positive pay file, if you just want it for better security, you can set up the mapping for your bank's positive pay file. It's not customization. It's an actual data map that you build, what the field separators are and what that format is. And then you can deliver the positive pay file from the payment journal. All standard. So also, last but not least, I'm not going to go in and show any of this, but electronic ACH payments. So if you want to send a file to your bank and have your bank distribute the funds to your vendors, you can set up a bank account for your vendor, and then when you do a payment journal and say suggest vendor payments, you can specify that you want to pay those vendors electronically and export a file and transmit the file to a bank. So more and more we're seeing electronic banking, ACH, and so on. And Microsoft has definitely stepped it up and made sure that there's tools available in NAV to accommodate that shift. So I want to take a little bit to talk about jobs. Shifting gears a lot, I know. Then we should have about 15 minutes for some just open Q&A on any questions that you might have. So with jobs, I may have a couple more things to go through. So with jobs, there's a few key features here. So if I open up a job record, the first thing that you're going to see on my job screen is a streamlined job card. So a simplified job general tab, and right on the job card, visibility to job tasks. So I can see what all my job tasks are, and the key fields, what's my job budget, and what are my billing or contract amounts on here. So I have just simplified view, a better view, a more efficient view of my job data. There's also a new job quote report that's included, and there's simplified job closing. Yes.
So what you're showing there, is that kind of like a job status?
This is the job card.
Job card, we pull that up and we can kind of tell where we're at in the job.
Correct. And see, right now, today, what you have to do is you click on the job card, and then you have to go into tasks and view this section. So it's taken that step out. So why don't we just show you the tasks right here, right in front of the job
Or
card.
this is just a view, or can you edit these lines?
Yep, so you can, through here, there are functions that you can use. And you can, now you can drill down to the job planning lines, right
It's
from
still
there.
just a view that's not
And then
an
edit those. Yeah, but yeah, you want to go edit them on the planning lines. The other thing is simplified closing. So today, if you close a job, you have to go run the WIP processes one final time once the job status has been closed. Now it does that automatically. So as soon as you close the job, it recognizes that you have to run WIP, doesn't want to leave that hanging out there, so it runs that automatically for you. And then the last key thing is there is a new job manager role center. which I'm not gonna go into here. It's just a little bit improved, so that it exposes more meaningful information to your project managers, so they can see what the status of it is. For CRM, so the key point for Dynamics CRM is they've released the new role center for salespeople and for that customer relationship manager role. And I think the key message with this is that the NAV CRM functionality is here, and it's here to stay. We're implementing it for customers today. And what most people are finding is that it meets most of their needs for what they're looking to do with CRM, manage opportunities, manage salesperson tasks, give the salesperson access right to NAV from their phone or their tablet when they're out in the field, let them enter that order right into NAV so they have NAV pricing. That pricing logic, those validations are getting done in real time. And that's kind of been the biggest driver towards the shift to NAV CRM, is that since you can get to it from anywhere, why not just enter that information directly into NAV instead of entering it in CRM and then having to have two systems and integrate it, different users sitting in different systems. So I think they're paying attention to NAV CRM and continuing to improve that. For items, last major piece here is for an item record, items. If I click on the Tokyo guest chair, what you may notice over here on the right side is where there's a little fact box called item attributes. So this is a new feature. It allows you to define an unlimited number of attributes for each item without customization. Again, previously, if you said, I want a separate field where I can search and track the height of an item, the width of an item, the color of an item, the material of an item, is it stainless steel or galvanized aluminum, whatever it is, you would add those as custom fields. Now within 2017, I can go into this Tokyo guest chair, I can click on attributes up top, and this is where I define what all my attributes are for this item. So I say, for example, I can say model year, not really applicable, but maybe it is. Maybe this is a 2017 model. So I've just assigned that. This guest chair here is now model year 2017. I also have what are called item category codes. And item category codes work with my item attributes. So the idea is you can set up a series of different item categories, and the category defaults in the attributes for that item. So you may have certain attributes that automatically get defaulted. If you're purchasing a stainless steel item for something, you can have that attribute of stainless steel default in, but maybe then you manually say this is a 12-foot bar, or this is what the weight per pound is of this item. But the point is, now that I have these attributes here, I don't have to customize NAV. When you're entering an order, you can look up by attribute. There's a filter by attribute feature where you can say, show me all of my items with a length of 12, or show me all of my white items, or my blueberry, or my whatever it is, certain types of assemblies that I might be looking for.
Yeah. If we were doing like an import of items from an outside Excel, let's say, could we import the attributes as well, or does that need to be done at the item level?
Yeah, you could do that through if you use the Rapid Start data import, yes, because you're creating, it's a related table, so you have that data moved into a related table associated with the item. Or obviously an XML port, also, if you're using like just an XML port to import the data, that can also be the same. The last two pieces, kind of to go through before we open it up. I'm sorry, go ahead. is integrated services and PayPal. So one of the new standard features with NAV 2017 is a little bit of integration for PayPal. So I can set up my account in PayPal, give the users kind of a target URL in here if you accept payments through PayPal. And the idea is then that when I print an invoice, you can see it says always include on documents. So when I generate a sales invoice to the customer, it'll actually embed that in the document. Pay via PayPal, click here with a link to take the user to the payments page in PayPal for your account. There you go. So that's funny. I was trying to print it, and I was having an issue because of my printer, but I should have just emailed it, right? Why didn't I just email it? So if I hit email here, so it's going to send this invoice to the customer. You can see here I've got my template here. It's embedded the PayPal link here with the link right here. So I can click on this link. It actually takes them out and then a sandbox at PayPal. It's like a test site, so it doesn't work. But again, more and more making these integrations with these outside services easier to use. And then the last piece is, Sarah touched on Cortana intelligence. And I have a quick little video I want to show for that. So as we go into here, I think my link is broken, so I'm going to have to do this manually. Oops. And I hope, never easy. So I want to show a little video here. Before I hit play, I hope the volume on here should be loud enough if we all listen carefully. The idea of this first integration with Cortana intelligence, as Sarah mentioned, everyone knows who Siri is. I don't think anyone knows who Cortana is. But Cortana originally was the same as Siri, right? Well, Microsoft has taken the idea of Cortana and is expanding on it to include additional logic. In this case, it's called Cortana Business Intelligence. And in this example, what it's doing within NAV is it's looking at inventory data and suggesting reorders for inventory. So it's looking at the history of the item, looking at through a series of algorithms, and suggesting for you that you purchase additional inventory. Or also create new items. Hey, you buy other things from this vendor, add those items to this purchase order as well. And what I want to do, because this guy does a much better job than I do, I'm just going to play the demo so we can walk through this and you kind of understand a little bit about how they're embedding Cortana in NAV 2017.
Cortana Intelligence Sales Inventory Forecast. In this video, you will learn how Cortana Intelligence helps you to manage inventory. Inventory management is a trade-off between customer service and managing your cost. On one hand, a low inventory requires less working capital, but on the other hand, stockouts potentially lead to missed sales. So you are an inventory manager, and today is a good day to submit requisition requests to your vendors. To get inspiration, start by browsing your item list. These are the items you sell, and you can see the current inventory. Is this quantity enough? It depends on the term. historical data and analyzed it with different time series models. Then, more precise prediction is presented to you. You can react on expected inventory level directly from the sales and inventory forecast fact box. The Dynamics 365 creates purchase invoice for the vendor specified in the item card. The Dynamics 365 fills in the quantity based on monthly forecast and stock out warning horizon defined in the setup. But you can make any changes you need. The sales and inventory forecast support you in this by providing two visualization modes. The inventory forecast mode is good when it's necessary to know when to expect stock outs and how many you should buy to ensure that you will still have some inventory in a few months. The sales forecast is better to learn about expected sales. In this mode, you can discover trends and seasonality. We're done with one item, but Cortana Intelligence knows about other items that are at risk of stock out and that can be purchased from the current vendor. That's why the system displays the notification bar. The recommended lines are added. Now you can contact your vendor. In this video, you learn about Cortana Intelligence that improves sales and inventory forecast, predicts potential sales, and gives a clear overview of expected stockouts. The sales and inventory forecast provides the following benefits. Helps to lower working capital. Helps to avoid stockout that potentially lead to missed sales. Increase customer satisfaction by having required items in inventory. Reduces time needed for analyzing of sales and inventory. Reduces time needed to create replenishment requests to vendors.
All right. So, brand new. So again, same thing. There's a subscription for Cortana through Office 365 that you can subscribe to. There's one of those assisted setup wizards to set that feature up in 2017. It walks you through a few steps to get that integrated with that, and it's up and running. And so the last thing is I just wanted to touch real briefly about extensions. So if anyone's out there and you're looking at things, you may have heard about extensions for NAV. And what an extension is, it's simply a new way that we can do custom development within NAV in a way where the customization can be installed and uninstalled on an as-needed basis. So, as an example, there are multiple add-on partners out there right now that are developing their add-on solutions as extensions. So if you think about, you have your NAV database, and one of them is an address verification add-on solution. As an extension, you install that, kind of like you would install an app on your phone, or you would install an add-in into Excel, and you then can use it, and when you're ready to upgrade, you uninstall the extension, upgrade, reinstall the extension back into the upgrade. It was released a couple versions ago. Now with 2017 is what I call viable, because it includes the ability to include tables within the extensions. So what that means is you could create an enhancement that adds a custom field to a table, maybe add a custom report and a custom code unit or function that does something, package it together as an extension, and install it as a set into the database. Okay? And then uninstall it, reinstall it. So we're right at the front edge of extensions. We're working with that internally right now, figuring out how those work, working with other partners that are doing more with it to figure out what the impact is of an extension on top of an extension on top of an extension, and so on. So those are some of the things we're working on right now. But if you hear about extensions, that is kind of where Microsoft sees the future of NAV development going, so that, again, simplifying the ability to upgrade in the future, by packaging these enhancements together, taking it out, upgrading, plugging it back in. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up. There's nothing really to show on that, but I just wanted, in case people are, you hear people or you see something about extensions, that's what that refers to.
And just to add to that a little bit, that's kind of the wave of the future with the app stores. So you have these additional applications that are built as extensions to make users like yourselves, give users like yourselves the ability to add those extensions in. So that's kind of the future of where it's going. And I think that's why they're doing the development that way. So on that note,
I'll let
how do we
Sarah,
upgrade?
I'll let Sarah wrap this up here with a few
Yeah,
slides.
just a couple. So yeah, all these great features, all this great functionality, now what do we do? You know, how do we get those things? So just for some of you, again, that maybe are new to NAV or a little bit older in NAV, you are all part of the Microsoft Enhancement Plan. And there are some really nice features as being part of a Microsoft customer that allow you to, number one, take these upgrades. The upgrades are free to you. They're part of the enhancement plan, so you're never ever paying for that software. Also giving you the ability to access customer source. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but there's a real benefit to that. So in terms of e-training tools and unlimited e-tools, and Ken talked about it a little bit, but they've really advanced this area. So if you guys do not have logins to customer source, please talk to us after this, and we will make sure that we will individually get you guys signed up for this, because there's a tremendous amount of benefit and value of getting onto customer source today. Years ago, they weren't so great. Today, those training tools are much better than they've ever been. And access to information, blogs, technical blogs, asking questions. Of course, we're always here to support you, but a lot of times it's nice to watch a video, then ask a question. So that's kind of where it's going. So with that being said, because you're part of the enhancement plan, you can upgrade your system. And this is just a summary of the methodology that we use in taking a customer, whatever version you're on, doesn't matter if you're going all the way back to 2.6 over to 2017. But basically, we plan out the upgrade. Some of the discussions that we need to have are hardware related, infrastructure related, again with Azure now in the cloud, lots of options there. But we basically will take your tailored database, merge it with Microsoft's upgrade toolkit, and bring you to that next level. So we're responsible for doing that. Our developers, we do that all the time. We've upgraded many customers to date, but we do that. We then do that first level of testing. What's more important, we can't stress it more, is that once we deliver that tested, upgraded database to you, we want you to do that second level of testing. Extremely important, but everything's coming over, including your enhancements. So any customizations, any enhancements that you've done to the system, we move those over, we test them, and then we start that basic key user training. So training you on the new features, functionality, there's a lot of new stuff, kind of getting you familiar with that, running a pilot test for your users to feel comfortable that, hey, we get this, we're good, running through some end user training, and then over a weekend, upgrade the database again with your most current data and bring you live that Monday morning. So that's basically the process. Pretty straightforward. Again, we do it all the time. You never have to worry about losing information, but we do want you to make sure you've tested it. Some things have changed. It's very important and critical. Okay, and then we just go on to support. So in a nutshell, we document those enhancements. Sometimes as we've gone through these upgrades, there's things that you've done to the system, especially if you're on older versions on the report customizations that maybe today you don't need anymore. So sometimes we don't even have to move those things over. But we'll go through that, upgrade the database, and do some testing. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the milestones that I just reviewed, review testing, delivery of new database, do that level 2 testing and pilot. So again, we've done this all the time. It's pretty straightforward, and it's just a matter of making sure that nothing changes and that your users are comfortable. Maybe the look and feel will be a little bit different, so just getting them comfortable so day one, when you're live, there's nothing changing in terms of your business. after that pilot, obviously, we make a decision to go live and take you live over that weekend. So, we talked about that. In a nutshell, a typical timeline. So, typically when we start an upgrade, we want it to happen within a couple months. It shouldn't take longer than that. Most of it happens through your testing. So once we give you that database, we ask you how long is it going to take your users and your group to go through and test it. Ideally, we don't want it to last months and months and months. It should be a pretty quick process, especially as Ken mentioned, after 2009, the process is much, much quicker. So it's not because of the whole SQL change. So ideally, a couple month process to get you to the new release. And even shorter now if you're 2015 and above.